On this episode of The Breakthrough Show, we begin and end the show today by talking to singer, songwriter, and fellow multi-passionate human being, Ray Coates. Ray joins us to share about his journey from finding his own voice to creating a safe space for others to find their voices. Plus, you'll hear a song from Ray's new album. Then, we're talking to the military medium himself, Dean McMurray. As he was closing in on the end of an almost 20-year career in the United States Army, Dean shares what it was like connecting with his intuitive gifts. In addition, Dean shares an uplifting message of hope to all those who may be grieving. All this and more coming up on today's episode.
Life gives us moments when we have the opportunity to make a choice, and what we choose has the potential to change our lives forever. Join us now for another inspired episode of The Breakthrough. And now, please welcome the creator and host of the show, Jessica Dugas.
Welcome back to The Breakthrough Show. I'm so excited to be here with you for another episode today of the Daytime Talk Show, inspiring you to change the way you look at and live your life through inspirational stories and, of course, entertainment and hot topics. And coming up later on the show today, I'm really excited. We're going to be talking to Dean McMurray. He's the military medium, and we are excited to be having a conversation with him later on. But coming up first on today's show, we have someone who is multi-passionate. We are not surprised because we have all the multi-passionate people of the world here on this show. He is a singer-songwriter. He's a poet, an actor, an international best-selling author, a public speaker. Please welcome to the show, Ray Coates. Ray, welcome.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Thank you for having me here with you.
Thank you for being here. We met initially a little bit ago, and I felt like we could have talked for about 12 hours. So we're going to try to rein it in for the people here today. As we do this tradition on this show, I would love for you to start out by sharing with our audience something that's bringing you joy today, Ray.
Oh, wow. I think the thing that's bringing me joy today is the connection of creativity. And I feel it's easy for it to seem as if it's an expert field, like many things in life. You know, creativity belongs to those people over there. And the wonderful thing, the joy I have is exploding that untruth. Because the truth is, we all are, and we all have it. And I love connecting with others, and it just feeds my soul with even more abundance than I have already.
I love that. Do you let me know if this is you too, because this is something that is really that I'm super passionate about, connecting other people together. And when I see them connecting, I'm like, oh, this is exciting. Do you get that way as well?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Because I think anything less is less, you know, and I understand it. I actually don't accept it, but I do acknowledge it and understand it when people try to limit life. And really creativity and life is that. It should be that we applaud and we're glad to see, you know, others flourishing and nourishing and growth and expansion. And I think the more there is of that, well, the better everybody is and the better everything is.
I agree. This is why we're best friends now, Ray.
100%. Now I hope it continues too. I'm aiming for that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, as I mentioned, you do lots of different things, and you have done lots of different things within your life. And one of the things that I am most impressed with your work is bringing or allowing people to bring their voice out that need that the most. And what is it about your journey that had you become passionate about that work?
I think a number of different things. Sometimes those that know me, the first instance of an acknowledgement of me being that way is throat cancer. So I experienced throat cancer in 2008. I experienced that kind of like a very, light way of saying what it was. Yeah, I lost the ability to speak for an entire year. But
Wow.
I now look back and I think, yes, of course, that was a major thing that happened to me. But there was more than that. There's, I've not been defined by that. And what I mean by that is, it's not just a physical thing. There were things that were going on in my life prior to my cancer experience and after that weren't just a physical manifestation of not having a voice. And I think I've experienced judgment, I've experienced intolerance, I've experienced so many things in my life. Isolation, disconnection, obviously cancer very much did that to me, that I now feel an advocate for the voice, not just for a cancer experience, if you like. So
Right.
there are many people in society who feel disconnected, feel isolated, feel voiceless, whether that's gender related, whether that's faith related, physically, circumstances, societal positioning, that can create that feeling of fragmentation. And I now feel, as I look back to 2008 and having no voice physically, it's more than that. It's more than that. And for me, situations that surrounded that I'm okay to talk about, I'm happy to talk about, that also were part of that experience as well. So it wasn't just a loss of a voice physically.
Right. Now, about the physical part, do you see any connection looking back between the throat cancer and the physical experience you had and maybe other things you experienced? So we see, for example, the work of Louise Hay that talks very much about the goddess herself, Louise Hay, that talks very much about the connection between physical experiences and our emotional state, our, the spiritual things we've gone through and so forth. Can you look back and see that connection for yourself?
Completely and very directly. And thank you for sharing that, because after my experience, I actually read, I can't remember the name of the book now.
You Can Heal Your
Hay.
Life. I have it right here.
Fantastic. Do you? There we go then. So well done. That's incredible, because I read it and it talked about cancer being in various places as a result of that experience. So now for me, again, in answer to what you've said, that makes me feel so passionate about enabling others to heal and deal with emotion, and not just men. But I do feel at times with men, maybe there is a bit of a stereotypical way of sharing, and it is a reality too of sharing emotion. And at times, even now, I find myself sort of falling back into a default of not opening up. I feel that vulnerability. Brené Brown, I've just recently read Daring Greatly. And I think that vulnerability, shame, resistant, we all have shame. So I think for me, it really, really is about opening. And the wonderful thing is, and the joy of the experience of my life now, is creativity creates that. Creativity creates that openness. Because when we step into writing, whether it's poetry, whether it's lyrics, whether it's songs, it just naturally opens up a space of no judgment. And for me, it's become crystallized now. It's like a musical form of journaling. It's like a musical form of journaling. So I look at the therapeutic value of creativity as well. But 100% through the journey from 2008 to now, there have been signposts along the way. And one of those was Louise Hay. And, the manifestation of illness, of dis-ease, in various parts of us, depending on what that was. And I was mute in the sense of I went into a space of just not saying how I felt. In family life, in a spiritual way, I just stopped talking almost in a way, or sharing my feelings. And I'm not saying I'm to blame, but I do really, really feel that was part of the cancer that manifested for me, because it hit my voice 100% to the point where I lost it, physically, completely, and spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, for some years after as well.
Well, I mean, I could literally go on, go on about this stuff forever, because I have so many side conversations in my head that I'm trying to control at the moment. But I want to take a quick break and talk to Dean, and then I want to come back at the end and find out a little more specifically what you're doing with your work and also what you have coming out. And we may or may not have a little music for you guys at the end as well. So we're going to take a quick break, guys, and we'll be right back in just a minute for more of the Breakthrough Show.
My name is Brandon, and over the past year, the Delight Cafe team and I have traveled across the U.S. researching this rapidly growing industry of CBD products. What we have found throughout the industry were products that were inconsistent in dosage and used ingredients that weren't even lab tested. Products with chalky textures, bitter aftertaste, and worst of all, confusion among the CBD consumers. That's why we created Delight Cafe. A 15 milligram lab-tested, all-natural, water-soluble hemp CBD powder pack. It's odorless, colorless, and tasteless. Add it to your favorite drink of choice, wherever, whenever, on the go. Quickly find your calm, your balance, and your delight when you need it most.
Welcome back to the Breakthrough Show. I'm so excited to be here with you guys again today. And I especially love having people on the show who go from one particular line of work into another, and you cannot see the connection. You think to yourself, how could it possibly connect together that you've done these two very different things in your life? And it really does speak to that nature that we've talked to so many times on this show, that we are multifaceted human beings. There's so many different sides and parts to us. And I'm really glad that our guest today is a walking example of that. He was served 24 years in the United States Armed Forces, and now is an internationally acclaimed psychic, medium, and healer. What? I don't know. We're going to talk to him here in a minute. Please welcome Dean McMurray to the show. Welcome, Dean.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Thanks for having me on. It's really a pleasure being here.
So excited to have you on. And I would love for you to start by sharing with our audience something that's bringing you joy today.
Yeah, joy today is, we were chatting before we went live and talking about children, and I was looking at your questions, and I was like, joy today is my family, my children, my wife, just really the gratitude that they're, and the joy that they're bringing me today. So I would have to say my kids and my family. So
I love that. And I know that as we were talking about before we started recording, it's an up and down life, this parent life. And so I'm glad that today it's a joyful day.
So far, anyways, we'll take it one step at a time.
The day is still young. So
yes,
here
it
we
is.
are.
It is.
So as I mentioned, just introducing you, you served 24 years in the United States Armed Forces.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you so much for your service.
Oh,
and
thank you.
Second of all, tell us a little bit about that and what branch you were in and what role you played.
Yeah. So did all my years in the Army. And then so a lot of different jobs or specialties while I served, about almost 15 years, served in infantry units in the active duty Army. And then I decided to get out after my last deployment. And then I came over to a something that wasn't really well known. It was an active guard and reserve program. And I was like, what is this, unicorn? I was like, and, and I found out that I could still be active duty, but not be, I could be closer to home, so to speak. And so I started applying for this program to work in various administrative jobs to support the weekend soldiers, basically is the premise, and what they call them, the full-time support staff. And that's what I did for the last 10 years, with the Army National Guard here in the state of North Dakota. worked various positions, everything from supply to admin to training. And then my last, one of my last positions was what they call a readiness NCO. And basically what their role is you're supervising all the people that do the pay, the supply, all that, and then also making sure the combat readiness of the unit is, they're ready at all times to deploy, or if they're on notice to deploy or whatever. So, that is their job, to make sure everybody else is doing theirs. And then just the overall readiness of the unit. I never thought that like being administrative would be so stressful. But there was a lot of associated stress and about, because I remember being a squad leader and being a infantry fire team leader. And basically what those means is that you're, in charge of so many soldiers, and usually infantry squad's about 8 people, and infantry fire team's about 4. And the thing is that when you're doing these administrative jobs, you're responsible for the entire unit. So however big your unit is, it could be very large, it could be small, but you could be in charge of maybe all the pay. You could be in charge of making sure that they have exactly what they need as far as equipment, right? Or it's at least it's on order, or whatever the case is. But so yeah, there was a lot of associated stressors, I guess. But no, overall it was great. And yeah, I'm proud of my time that I served in the mill. Obviously 24 years, you don't do that because it's not like a soul contract. It's, the thing is that, I kept on signing up. And so I must have liked it somewhere. And I think once it gets in your blood too, it's like you can always take off the uniform, but it seems like after a while, it becomes a part of you.
Yeah.
And, even though I don't do anything even remotely close to what I used to, it's still a big part of me. I mean, hello, military medium, right? So, so it's still there. And I love like, giving back when I can to the military community, veterans, their families, all those folks that serve us, each and every day. And, I just think, okay, how can I serve today?
Right.
Like,
right.
even though I'm not wearing camouflage uniforms anymore and marching around, it's like, and not barking order at troops. Maybe it's trying to bark orders at my kids, but as they roll their eyes at me, right? But no, it's interesting is because I look at that. How can I serve now? And it changes. And I think that's a thing that drives me is what I ask myself, like, and kind of the universe as well. Like, how can I serve today? How can I serve, what am I here to do, and how can I serve? So
I
that's a
love
big
it.
question.
I love talking about that because I think a lot of times when we've had people on the show, or even if just conversations I've had with other people who change their line of work, that soul calling, that thing that they feel like they need to do, has actually remained the same. Whether it's they want to help people, they want to serve, they want whatever it is they want to do, it's actually stayed the same all along. And I know my father was in the military. He was in the Navy for 22 years. And he's very, you talk about like being the same way as he was in the military. He's still very much a military guy. But he does all of these things now. For example, last Christmas, he became Santa Claus. He grew out the beard, has the whole white beard and everything. And my kids are like, Grandpa is Santa. They're
I love
they're
it.
loving it. But he's doing that same thing where he feels like he's in service to other people. And I'm not sure I will ever see him actually retire. He just continues to want to serve other people. So I totally get that. that need to feel like you need to serve. My question for you is, because now you're known as the military medium,
Yep.
you are a psychic, a medium, a healer. Were you having those experiences while you were in the military?
Well, not until my last 3 years, Jessica, I wasn't aware of my abilities. And to be quite honest, I wasn't even open, talking about mediums and psychics and all that stuff. I would have rolled my eyes and go, oh God,
Mm,
and because I wasn't that guy. Facts and figures, everything was
yeah.
black and white. And like I said, my last 3 years in military service, when I came back from my very last deployment, we got deployed to Kosovo when I was still with the National Guard, and did a year in country, came back. And that's when everything started happening for me. That's when
Mm,
my spiritual awakening happened. And, I really asked, I was kind of asking, God, the universe, why have you, why me? Why now? And I really wanted to know, because I wasn't looking for this. I did not
mm,
want it. I actually had planned after retirement to go work for the VA in my area.
mm,
And because I thought, well, geez, 24 years, military service, you can apply that. Here I was at that time in my early 40s, you know, geez, I can work another 20 years and I'm
mm.
still, I could have 40 plus years, as a, civil or, a government servant, and boy, be thinking retirement, right? And my kids were young at the time. And then at the top, on top of all that, here the walls come tumbling down because I had this spiritual awakening, I call it. What the premise is my grandmother came to visit me, and my grandmother
Mm,
died back in the 80s. And she actually pushed me into the bed. And it was something that was so visceral, Jessica, that even for me at the time, that needed things to be very, how do I want to say, very visceral, right? So
mhm.
very, so I could understand in my big noggin that,
Yeah.
what's going on, because it didn't make sense. Like,
Yeah.
what was that? What did I just experience? And then everything, because I think it's normal for us. Like, if we experience something that we don't understand, we try to make logic of it, right? I don't
Mm,
care what it is. We try to understand it, and we only go back to our past experiences.
right.
And so if we have nothing to compare it to, zip, zilch, zero, I hadn't had any experience with spirits or ghosts, here's my dead grandmother showing up, it's like, hello, grandma's here. And, quite honestly, I thought I was like having some psychosis moment. I thought I was going to end up, at the local clinic, quite honestly. And I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And, when she pushed me into the bed, it was like, finally I was like, holy crap. And I didn't use those words, but I was like, it really was like the come to Jesus moment,
Yeah.
right? And so, I think my guardian angel was like, he's not getting it. Hit him with the 2x4. And, sometimes that's what I feel like. And so, where I knew my mom's mom, and, my grandmother on my paternal side, I was close to. So I had a connection there
Mm,
prior to her passing. And so, I was like, God, I haven't felt that. And, you know, she passed what, in the 80s, and like 83, so here we are, like almost 30 years later or
yeah.
better. And it's like, I haven't felt her in that long. And then all of a sudden you just know that she's
Hmm.
there. Hello.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was struggling with. And so, quite honestly, I was like, well, who do I go to or who do I turn to? And, my wife, oddly enough, confided in me when I was overseas for the last time that her and a bunch of girlfriends had been seeing a local psychic in our area. And I was referring to this lady psychic as the voodoo chick. And that's just because that was me. That was my language at the time, right? And because I wasn't open to that. And this, oh, you and your voodoo chick friends. And that was me.
Oh, how the tables have turned.
Oh, yes. Somebody was up there going, just wait, Dean, just wait for it, wait for it. And so, I went to her and I was like, what's going on? Why me? Why now? And she's like, well, really simple. You're a psychic. And I was like, I don't want to be a psychic. Take it back. And she's like, I didn't send it to you. And, and she was like, plus it doesn't work like that. And I was like, well, crap, it's like, and, I kind of equate it to waking up in the morning and find out that you have a second thumb on your hand. And it's like, now what? Like, now I got to get new gloves, like, and so what does this mean? And so I really went on. At first I tried to ignore it, I think was the normal course. I was like, I don't want it, so I'm just going to ignore it. And when I did that, nothing changed. Actually, I got spirits actually started getting louder, and more spirits actually started showing up. And my daughter, who was 4 at the time, would come in our bedroom in the middle of the night. And the creepiest thing ever, she would, you just picture like a little girl's voice going, Daddy, there's a man in my room. And like all the hairs on your neck would just stand up. And then, of course, I'm rushing into a room, like thinking, who the heck is in, my daughter's. Well, then you don't see anybody physically. And then you're like, oh, there's somebody like in spirit. And then my wife finally was like looking at me like, you need to figure this out. And I was like, and so I went back to that gal that I was calling the voodoo chick. And because she was the only one that I knew. And I said, what do I do with this? And if I'm a medium, and she said, well, that's kind of like an individual thing. Like you can do whatever you want with it, but let's figure it out. Let's figure out why you want to be a medium. And I said, and that's what kind of got me mad, because I was like, I told you I don't want to be a medium. And she suggested a book for me. There was John Edwards wrote a book called The Infinite Quest. And it was recommended to me, number one, because in the book, John talks about boundaries with those in spirit, which was not happening in our house at the time. And then also it really asks over and over and over again, to the point of driving you crazy, of why you want to be a medium. And every time I read it, I was like, I don't want to be a medium. Like, I was almost like throwing the book. I was so frustrated because the answers weren't coming. And I went back to that gal and that lady, and I said, and she said, did you read the book? And I said, yeah, I read your damn book. And I said, and she said, well, it's not my book. And I said, well, I read the book and by John Edwards. And I said, I'm more confused now than ever because, it asks, why do you want to be a medium? I said, I don't want to be a medium. And I was it was almost like the more I tried to get away from it, the closer it came. And I was like, wow, if it's not going away, I finally come to the point where it was like, if it's not going away, what do I do with it? Again, going back to the analogy of that second thumb, like, hey, I can't do anything with it. Like, what do you do? And so I learned to embrace it. And so I was like, okay, if I'm a medium, what does that mean for Dean McMurray? And I think that was the turning point when I learned to embrace who I was. And I made a commitment to start exploring that. That's when the doors started opening, because it's saying, okay, now you're ready to start learning. Now instead of being resistant, you're being, open to a degree, right? I was still kind of hard-headed back then. I still am. If you ask my wife, I still am. But but the thing is that every time that I would run into my own skepticism, it was like my grandmother was on my shoulder going, remember back to the night that, that I, that I showed up, how can you explain that? And I was like, well, I can't. And so she basically said, why don't you just stay open? And every time that I was reminded to look at things, kind of in a neutral way, and just stay open, I was shown some pretty amazing things, whether they were attending a class or just seeing things from somebody else's point of view. And I was like, wow, I would see some or have some really cool experiences. Long story short, I took a class in mediumship. And then I really spent a year, giving readings. And all this time, Jessica, it was, I was very much Dean the medium by, or, Dean the soldier by day and Dean the medium by night. It sounds like a new comic book, right? But in literal sense, it was, I'd go to work and, do, work at the armory and everything, and do the Monday through Friday, 1 week in a month and 2 weeks out of the year type deal. And for that last 3 years, but the whole time I was developing myself spiritually. And I was very closed off. I was very protective, because a lot of people ask, well, did you tell like your commanders, and like, did you share it in the military aspect? I was very closed in the, like in the beginning, I was like, like I didn't want anybody to know, because I didn't want to be quote unquote that guy. And I thought, God, I'm going to be blacklisted, all this. And here I am, which is considered a senior non-commissioned officer. I was the E7 at the time. And I was like, well, there's a level of, you don't want to, I didn't want folks to think of me in a non-professional way, I guess, is the best way I could think of it. And so I felt that I needed to keep it closed, but there were a few trusted folks that I worked with, that we would talk around the water cooler, and they were like, no way, I'd share the, stories that was happening along the way. And then some were like, oh my God, I think you need a priest, and it's like feeling like I was maybe getting possessed. I don't know. But basically what happened was, as I got closer to retirement, really in that last year, I must have started becoming the grumpy old guy or something, because I really didn't care. I was like, what are they going to do? Bend my dog tags and make me retire? But really, when I look back on it, Jessica, I was tired of not living authentically, or, out loud. Right. So I was tired of wearing masks and saying, this isn't who I am. I'm at the time a soldier, but I started realizing and coming to the realization that I was more than a soldier.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming on today to share your story with us, and all of that. But I also would love for you maybe to leave a final message. My whole intro into this world, like I said, was the death of my brother. And I know I connected with a lot of people on that grief level, people that had just lost loved ones and things like that. And they watch the show all of the time. If they are in that space of grief, they've just lost someone, is there any kind of message that you can share that maybe is something you've learned from speaking with people that have crossed over? And what hope or message could you leave with them today?
Sure. Thank you for asking that. First off, I would share is that you're not alone. Doing this for enough years has really brought validation through time and time again that we truly are not alone. We don't walk this earth, even though that they've transitioned from a physical body back to their spiritual state, that, they're still with us. The other piece is that love truly never dies. That love, that connection that we hold with them is still there. And it's just within the confines of our mind that we believe that we can't connect with them the same, but we still can. And now it's a little bit different, but the thing is if we give it an opportunity, each of us has the ability to connect with them, our loved ones, asking for signs. And you can start today. And one of the things I would share, if somebody is sitting in grief and saying, I'm really missing, say it's a sibling or maybe a mom or dad or whomever, ask for a sign and be very specific. And I always use the example of blue butterflies. If you want it, one time I asked for a pink unicorn because I never see pink unicorns and I knew it would stand out to me. And sure enough, during the summer, I saw a pink unicorn. It was I think it was a garage sale. But what I'm sharing is stay open to, just like that pink unicorn example, stay open to where it shows up. It can, where you least expect it. Maybe the cover of a book. It can be on screen printed on somebody's shirt or a billboard, anywhere. And then when you see it, you can simply say, thank you. But the 90, and I'm going to give you a caveat because there's a 90% rule when you first start off. Be like, yeah, but that billboard's always there. Yeah. That's this coincidence, right? Because we're going to logic. Ask for it again, or ask for a different sign and saying, okay, thank you, but I need another sign. Yeah. And because if there's some doubt, that's okay. And don't feel that it's a lack of love going, oh, mom sent that and I should be grateful. And it's like, okay, but you can still ask for it. It's okay. We're human. We're still, when we're when we're still in the state, it's okay because there's a little bit of doubt, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that they love us any less. So just know as you go throughout your day, you're not alone, and that you're loved, and that you're seen. And one of the things I also wanted to add real quick, Jessica, because I know this will air sometime in the future, but we're recording this, which is serendipitous on Martin Luther King Day. I just want to really say that when you can be anything in this world, just be kind, because we never know what somebody else is going through. So if you have the opportunity, be kind.
Absolutely. I love that so much. Dean, thank you so much for sharing your story and also leaving us with some of those beautiful sentiments that I know that people can really take to heart and use going forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessica. Thanks so much for having me on. It was really a pleasure.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to be back in just a minute for more of the Breakthrough Show, but be sure to check the show notes for all the information about Dean and where you can connect with him. We'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back to the Breakthrough Show. I want to give a big thank you to our other special guest today, Dean McMurray. Please be sure to check out our show notes where you can find all the information about his work. And we are back now with Ray, and we're super excited to have him here today. We're going to play a little music for you before we get back into conversation. Ray has a song called Mother Nature's Embrace. Will you tell us what that song means for you, Ray?
Totally. I love the way, I just have to acknowledge the way you sang Back Here with Ray. It's almost like we're going into a song now. I love it.
We are.
It's
this is the musical
totally,
version.
Totally true enough. Well, Mother Nature's Embrace was written with a incredible human being from Australia, a lady called Sanny Chu. She'd never really particularly had experience, and in the album, which I know we're going to talk about later, many people had never written lyrics. So I joined with them to write songs, and the song is really about the fact that Mother Nature has everything we need. The earth has everything we need. We use phrases like, we need to protect the environment. And that is incredibly presumptuous of us as human beings, because actually it's the other way around. The earth protects us. The earth has everything we need.
Right.
So when we feel we need that hug, when we feel we need that hug, nature does that for us. It gives us that. And there are so many things around us. So lyrically, Sanny created a work of absolute genius, because her words talk about abundance and all of the things that are around us. And the music is so uplifting and vibrant, as is Mother Nature. So I love this song, and I love all of the collaborative works of creation that I'm part of, but this is Mother Nature's Embrace.
Beautiful. All right. Well, here is Mother Nature's Embrace. We'll be right back.
Works because it is what nature really is. With nature is something is always grow in her own timing. You can't rush, but at the end, the result is really, really just blew your mind.
Mother Nature's abundance, streams of love to all around, with a nurturing nature and patience, from a seed to a tree to a forest, the miracle of connecting ground. She always keeps me safe from harm when I need it. She keeps me warm when I'm happy. She laughs with me. Mother Nature's embrace. When I'm sad, she cries with me. Mother Nature's embrace. Everything grows in her beauty. In patience, she holds me. My Mother Nature's embrace. The sound that surrounds me, birds sing as they share their secret song so sweetly. The sound of the branch, the breath of the wind, the beautiful symphony that other souls bring. She always keeps me safe from harm when I need it. She keeps me warm. She always keeps me safe from harm when I need it. She keeps me warm. When I'm happy, she laughs with me. Mother Nature's embrace. When I'm sad, she cries with me. Mother Nature's embrace. feel sad, she cries with me. Everything grows in her beauty. Impatient, she holds me. My mother nature's embrace.
All right. We thank you so much, Ray, for sharing that beautiful music with us today. I always love having just a quick, even if it's just one song in the show where we can all just kind of take a deep breath and reset. And it's beautiful. So tell us, Ray, specifically, I know you work with people on bringing their voices out and working on their voice. How exactly do you do that?
A lot of it has taken place naturally. So I found law of attraction has drawn to me many people who felt voiceless for a variety of different reasons, some physically, some sang years ago and then they stopped singing, or they wrote poetry years ago and they stopped writing. And because of my experience, when I'd done me, so to speak, you know, when I've done my healing, I felt then impelled to step into my purpose, which is, of course, for me to share my voice, and that's fine, and my own individual creativity. But there was an extension because of what I'd experienced. So I thought, how can I do this? What can I do? Well, I can open up the gateway and the portal of creativity, and particularly songwriting, poetry for others. So I started a number of Facebook Lives. I wrote a songwriting program, which is still available, and I add to all of the time, because I've shared this a lot recently in my live social media. I do a lot of lives, which is this medieval view of the jesters and the minstrels, and it still exists today. You know, there's the creatives over there. The creatives over there on the sidelines who haven't found a proper job. Isn't it lovely? Isn't it nice? Isn't it sweet? Quaint over there with their creativity. Well, my view is, with obviously a little bit of sarcasm in my tone there, my view is that belongs to everybody. It's a birthright. And in society, the more we hear messages of creative energy, the more we're making, the less we're breaking. So what I find then is when I connect with others and open up opportunities of writing their unique DNA song, that's kind of how it began. So I connected with others through one-to-one videos, and then, you know, person wanted to create their own anthem, and I still do that. So I felt everything's there, everything's already there. So as a writer, if you and I now went into a space of, you know, talking about, you know, your journey and, you know, breaking through and things like that, I know that song would write itself. And I don't mean that as in that's easy and there's no endeavor in that, but the person is the central thing. So that was kind of a beginning for me. So that was a couple of years ago. And now that's developed into a collaborative album. So during, I'm going to use the terms, I don't welcome them at all, but lockdown, social distancing, you know, self-isolation. During that period, I thought, I can't work in my secular job. So what can I do? Not what can't I do, what can I do? And what I can do is Facebook Lives. I connect with individuals. So this was November of last year, and I started a series of lives. And then individuals jumped on and we started writing songs. And that was like the first month. And then I thought, let's carry on, we'll do another one. And then there was another song. And long story short, I did have a vision and a mission in my mind, which is a collaborative work involving people who had never had lyrical experience before. They'd never written a song. So I would create the musical content and they would share their messages. I would do some weaving, some pruning through obviously my experience of songwriting and, you know, weave those words around. But essentially, it's a collaborative work. And I'm going to physically show now. Here it is.
Oh, beautiful.
So, Garden of Love, Connecting in Creativity. 11 songs. So whichever direction you look at it from, the connective work, even within the artwork and the songs, is just, it weaves and it's harmonious. And to this date, and there are many things that I will be creating in the future, I haven't been a part of anything as incredible as this yet. So that's progress and that's growth and that's expansion. And I aim to share even more with anyone who likes to come and get pizza with me creatively.
Yes.
And literally too.
Because we are in a human body that needs to eat, my friends. You understand?
Totally.
Well, the album came out last week, and if you haven't gotten it yet, if this is your first time hearing about it, make sure you go check it out. I know we're going to have your information in the show notes where people can click and go find it. But for those people on podcast, Ray, will you tell everybody the best place to find you?
The easiest place to find me is the website, raycoatesvoice.com. And everything is there. And maybe the audience understand a little bit more why it's Ray Coates Voice, because I'm using mine, now I have it, to open up that voice for others. So raycoatesvoice.com, you'll find everything there.
Absolutely. Well, Ray, thank you so much for being here, and thank you in an even bigger way for the work that you're doing in the world, because I think it's so important right now, and bringing us together and creating a message of hope and creating a platform where other people can share their messages of hope as well is something desperately needed in the times that we're in right now. So thank you, Ray, for all of that and for being here as well.
Thank you, Jessica.
All right, you guys, it has been another incredible episode today. I want to give a big thank you to Dean McMurray and Ray Coates for being here. And I want to thank all of you wherever you are in the world watching or listening. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas. And until next week, I want to remind you to make every day a great day for a breakthrough. We'll see you next time.
Tuning in to another episode of The Breakthrough. Please visit our website at www.thebreakthroughshow.com and be sure to join our